I have a question about the Rabbit R1. I think we all saw this keynote, right? We watched the Rabbit R1 keynote. We saw Rabbit, this new company, this new tech startup. We saw their CEO and get up there and showcase this new high-tech meets low-tech little para smartphone device. It's not exactly a smartphone. It's not exactly a computer. It's an AI interface that you talk to and it does stuff. It's a little AI companion device, and it's made by Teenage Engineering, so it looks really cool. So it's striking. You notice it. It's out there. People are talking about this thing, or at least they were when it came out. I think a lot of us just bought one and then moved on. So people are talking about a lot of things here. Like, will this be a Siri killer? Is this finally a good smart assistant after a decade of underwhelming devices like Google Home and Alexa? It uses an LLM as well as voice recognition to be able to figure out what you're talking about contextually. So there are a lot of podcasts asking good questions and like talking about this stuff. How can it order me an Uber if I don't tell it where I'm going, or like what pricing mode of Uber I prefer? Honestly, I think those are answerable like questions. Like that stuff's easy to solve. Will it still be around in 4 months, or will a bigger company acquire them, or will we even still be using them because it'll just be junkware that goes away? Here's my question. How is this thing not a breach of terms of service for like every single possible integration that it could use? Let me explain here. The Rabbit works on a different kind of AI training model called a LAM, a large action model. While the device uses a large language model to talk to you, they've been training on the kind of user interfaces humans use to be able to operate software. And the application and device works by literally running the Rabbit desktop connection to your computer. Like, this is probably a cloud service thing. That's how this happens. But like the device connects to another machine that you have on a computer, and that program is operating your computer. The example here is the CEO generating a Midjourney image on Discord by asking the Rabbit to do it. The Rabbit is basically operating his computer. There's a part of the video where he trains the Rabbit software how to do what he's asking for by like clicking on that part of Discord and doing that. I think a lot of people are missing this part. This is the software part. This is what's really actually kind of novel about the Rabbit, in a way. But I think this approach is going to have a ton of problems. Like, okay, let's say it is fast and responsive. Let's say that we're not waiting 5 minutes every single time we make a command. Let's just say for all good faith, intents and purposes, this device works and it works really well. How is this not the definition of botting? Like, how is this not what botting is? Companies spend a lot of money and effort on trying to detect bot action happening on their websites. Literally, this is how you would set up a bot. Okay, so related story. Every year I have to do my taxes, right? We all have to do that because I'm a real person. I'm a real guy. I'm like an actual physical flesh being. I'm not just a little cyber dude. This is a model I made in Blender, right? I have to do real taxes. So I download a metric ass ton of receipts from Amazon. I have to count all these. I have to have them on hand in case the IRS is like, did you really spend that much money at Amazon? And then I'll have to pull them all out, right? And honestly, getting these receipts is terrible. Maybe there's a tool I don't know about, or maybe it's because I need to like upgrade to a business account or something. But basically, I have to go back through and I have to find every individual receipt and I have to export a PDF. It's terrible, and there's no like one button way to do it. So I had an idea. What if I was like, hey, ChatGPT, please write me a Python script with the Selenium library that will let me go through all of my Amazon accounts stuff and like automatically basically just go in and click the button to say export and then save all my PDFs. And then ChatGPT was like, hey, bro, actually, did you know this is against Amazon's terms of service? And given that I am fairly dependent on Amazon for a lot of the day-to-day parts and pieces of my studio that I run, I was like, okay, fair enough. I won't be botting Amazon today. So here's the question. Can my Rabbit do this for me? Can I have my Rabbit go back through and like export all of my receipts? And how is that any different than running Selenium? Isn't this technically a botting issue? So another example, day-to-day web browsing. I use Brave browser. I try to duck as many third-party tracking systems as possible. I know I can't beat them all, but Brave seems like an easy way to just like to try. So I try. I have a ton of issues using this thing just surfing the web. The cost of like The cost of trying to improve my privacy is often that websites think that I'm a bot. Like, that is a thing that literally happens because, like, I don't know if it's magical Google DRM. Like, I'm not sure what it is. I'm not a web developer. This is all a really big problem. Mudahar can handle this one. My point is that, like, I have this much trouble on a regular basis, and I'm a real human using things. Like, Discord asks me if I'm a bot. I'm just doing normal stuff. I don't know how that's going to get better if I literally have the rabbit operating my computer. So there's like a lot of implications to a neural net that does human user input. It's kind of upsetting, and there are, like, big problems with it. Like, a lot of people on Twitter are like, why can't we just have the AIs like connect to APIs? And that kind of goes with a lot of creators were saying, which was like, why couldn't this just be an app? But the question no one's asking is, what happens when some punk kid is like, hey, Rabbit, could you just order me 100 of the latest Taylor Swift tickets for me at exactly 12 midnight at release? That's obviously a bad example. Like, botting's already an issue in the world of concerts, but there's a lot of areas where you'd have to be especially inclined to bot to be able to start putting your botnets on things. And what happens when you can just ask the computer to do it for you? We don't have systems that are built for this. That's a problem that we have to solve when there are bots. We as humans actually don't like having superhuman levels of access to digital services when it screws over the design pattern the collective uses. In the keynote, the CEO talks about how they don't save your data. They don't have the bot log in for you. They don't authenticate anything. But here's the thing. Self-botting is still botting. Like, that's a thing. I don't know that much about self-botting. There's a reason I asked ChatGPT to get me the Selenium script. But, like, I legitimately don't know. Also, what keeps Rabbit from being a part of greater botting efforts? Like, what happens if I tried to run the Rabbit software on an Amazon cloud service or something like that? I honestly could learn a lot more about the subject. If you know more about this than me, please sound off in the comments. Is this thing going to be triggering bot detectors left and right?